back to Cycle 5. So once again, as always, we go into our English course and start with the weekly agenda. So going down to Cycle 5, so we'll start September 16th and wrap up on Tuesday, the 22nd. Okay, so for this one, we have two lessons that we're going to be working on, Lesson 8 and Lesson 9. And there will be a lot of specific terminology that we're going to cover, more with sentence structure. And then when we get to Lesson 9, we're really going to start working on constructive responses, short answer responses. So Lesson 8 is going to be due Sunday at around 9:20. And then the follow-up lesson, Lesson 9, will be due Tuesday, 9:22. Now, once again, if you're a student, this is what you care about, how you get your grades. So Lesson 8, that lesson will get you 10 points. For Lesson 9, there's going to be 2 grades that are going to come from that. So completing the lesson will give you 10 points, and then actually creating and submitting on Blackboard. So that'll be something that we'll run you through in the Zoom lessons. That constructive response will be worth 20 points. So we want to make sure that that's getting done and done well. So going into Schools PLP, our first lesson for this cycle is Lesson 8. So the top section and where most of the questions for this lesson are going to come from is a sentence, a complete sentence versus a fragment. And I know this is kind of small where you're looking, but the main thing to know is a sentence has to have a subject of who or what we're talking about, a verb, what about them, what do they do, and it has to be a complete thought. So when we go down here, there's a little test I like to use when I'm trying to figure out if it's a complete sentence or a fragment. It won't work for questions, but I don't think we have any of those in the lesson, is I put I know that in front of the sentence to see if it makes sense. I know that she wrote her essay in 10 days. So that sounds right to me. We have the subject, she, a person, and what? What did she do? She wrote her essay in 10 days. If we apply that test one more time, I know that writing my essay isn't a complete thought. So that one's going to be a fragment. It just sounds like something's hanging and left undone. So you'll have a few more examples here that you're going to go through. And then our next section is going to be covering run-on sentences, where we have too many thoughts without breaking up those thoughts. So there's really 3 main ways to fix that problem. So one is if we have 2 complete thoughts, put a period and make sure you have 2 complete sentences on both sides. We can also add a comma and a coordinating conjunction, and if you're familiar with fanboys, those little connecting words, that's what we're talking about. And then the last option is a semicolon. Once again, 2 separate sentences, and that second sentence has to directly build off the first sentence. I'm going to be honest, when in doubt though, probably use the period. So you're going to apply that for this question. Supporting sentences. This is where, think about that research paper, or if you're constructing a paragraph, everything should fit together. So the focus of that paragraph. And the examples they're going to give you is, think about writing a research paper for armadillos. And then they give you these 5 different sentences. And they're going to ask you, should this be a supporting sentence? If you were writing a research paper on armadillos, would you include it? So they're going to go through and ask about several of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, saying yes, it makes sense, or no, it does not. And then when you get down here to question 13, which sentence should be moved? 1 through 5. And I'll give you a hint, 1 should go. 1 is not important enough to keep, which means when you go back above here, one of these, when it asks, is this a supporting sentence, one of those will be a no. So there's a little clue on that section. All right, correcting problems inside sentences. There are a lot of these, and they do give really great examples for each one. So we have misplaced modifiers. Things aren't next to each other that should be. So for example, the boy threw the ball to the dog that was green. And the way to check for this is what's closest together. So what's closest to green in the sentence? In this situation, it's closer to dog. We know that's not what they meant, but that's what the sentence said. Probably the ball is what's green, and they should be next to each other. The boy threw the ball that was green to the dog. Subject-verb disagreements, incorrect verb tense when we're changing the verb tense. So we have past tense here, present tense here. We need to keep those both past tense. Pronoun problems, there are a few different examples. So you're going to have pronoun antecedents issues. You might have improper pronoun case. You could also have double indicators. Down here we have adverbs versus adjectives. So for this type of question, adverbs usually tell us when, where, or how something happened. And if it's a how it happened, usually it will end with ly. Adjectives usually give more description about something or someone, not how they did it or when it happened. And then the last issue you may run into is just simply using the right word choice. And when you get down here to this matching section, you'll have one of each of those examples from above. You will not use any of them twice, and you will use them all. So make sure you kind of start with the ones you feel confident about. The ones that you're left with, really go up and hunt to see what you haven't covered. And then down here for clarifying and combining sentences, we mostly want to get to a place in the questions you're going to apply it to. Where do we say what we want to say, but in as concise of a organization as possible? So I'm not going to say always, but you're probably looking to have the shortest answer choice, making sure that it makes sense. It's still a complete thought. You haven't chopped too much out. So that's what you need to know for lesson 8. We'll obviously have a lot of notes we'll cover in the Zoom to make sure you're ready to use these for quizzes for later.
Hi everybody, we are now moving on to lesson 9, which is drawing conclusions or trying to figure out what the word in a sentence or phrase means, and also how to respond to a short answer. So we walk you through a strategy along with some examples of how to actually complete one of those questions. So after you've completed lesson 8 and you're into lesson 9, you'll notice that this word context comes up a lot. And that's just a fancy way when you are scrolling down to start to see some of the examples. That is a fancy way to say what is outside of the bolded word that will give you key terms to what it actually means. So you'll have some examples of analyzing context for a word's meaning directly below it, first thing. You'll have it in a passage, another passage, and then you'll already, it's a little bit quicker than the lesson 6, where there's more content up above, you'll already have your first question that reviews the strategy that I'm going to go over using this example sentence, giving you your freebie. So the teacher sanctioned the student's choice of subjects for his thesis, saying it was a good idea. So the bolded word is sanctioned. If I'm assuming I don't understand what the word means, in the context, what words or key phrases can I steal to help me better understand or take a pretty educated guess at what it actually means? So to me, I'm kind of always looking for positives or negatives, and I see over here, the teacher said it was a good idea. So then before I even try to find any other key terms, I go, what are positive choices here? So I go criticize, forgot, disapproved, approved, and ignored. So the sore thumb that sticks out to me is the approved choice, because dis, forgot, criticize, and ignored usually have negative connotations. So I would roll with approved for this choice, because the teacher said it was a good idea, the teacher approves it then. A teacher wouldn't say it was a good idea if they're disapproving it. That would make no sense. So scrolling down, you'll have some more challenging words, but you want to implement the same strategy. Same thing for 3, same thing for 4. Regardless of whether or not it's a quote, doesn't matter, use the same strategy. Regardless of if it's a longer quote with multiple sentences, it might look more challenging, but you should have more context or clues around it before you make your selection. And then this is the second part of lesson 9, and this is something new for us. For the first time ever, we are understanding and learning about how to have a full written response instead of just filling in the blank or having multiple choice or completing a matching. So the main strategy has you looking at 4 elements, which is referring to the question's topic in the first sentence, stating your opinion or your side in the second sentence, supporting your opinion with evidence or whatever source you have, and then providing some sort of analysis in your 4th sentence. So that would give you a 4-sentence short answer paragraph that we'll talk about a little bit of where to submit it, what your prompt is, and everything like that. You'll have a nice video that breaks it down, very similar to what I said. You will have a rubric that your teachers, Ms. Potts, Ms. Godfrey, and myself will use to help us understand, did you address all 4 parts, and did you do all 4 parts correctly? And then down here at the bottom, you'll notice that it says answer the following question. And this is where PLP wants the teachers to insert their own prompt into PLP. However, we determined that it would be better not to have that for 2 reasons. One, you need to show up to the Zoom session to get the example of how to complete the 4-step process, and we'll give you the prompt there. Or second, if you're sick or whatever the case is and you miss Zoom, you need to email us and advocate for yourself. Hey, I missed Zoom, and hey, I need the prompt because I understand that this is 20 points like Ms. Godfrey went over. That's a big portion of your grade for this cycle. After you've gone through this lesson, you're ready for the actual prompt, you receive the prompt, you might be wondering, where do I submit it, or how do I submit it? So in Blackboard, under course content, this will be cycle 5, just like Ms. Godfrey went over, 9:16 to 9:22. You will see something new for us, and we haven't done this since Flipgrid. In this area, you'll not only have the guided notes that we're going to teach and go over during the Zoom sessions, the short answer stuff that I was talking about will be here under lesson 9. Here is actually after you get the prompt and you respond to the prompt and you're ready to go. So you would select the 3rd down in cycle 5. You'll have 2 choices, as always. We're pretty cool with both. You can either write submission and have your 4 parts, 4 sentences right here, so that's technically a full paragraph, or you can browse my computer. And the browse my computer is going to utilize this format, which has MLA format. So you can complete this on a Word document as we start to develop our writing and make it longer and longer. All of us junior and senior English teachers really want to push you're using the correct academic format. For us, MLA format, where you have your name, whatever class you're in, whether that's Potts or Godfrey, English 11, September 22nd, because that's the due date, and then you can just title it short answer response or something related to the actual prompt we give you. So you scroll down, you complete your 4 sentences right here, and I'll quickly walk you through how to save and submit like we did in the 1st and 2nd week. So you would hit File, Save As, and you want to always save it to the OneDrive in case your computer breaks, and desktop is a good place to start. And for this one, we'll just call it MLA heading, but I would probably have date along with the actual prompt or short answer next to it. You save it. Once it's saved, you would go back to Blackboard. You would probably need to reopen Browse My Computer. Let's see if I can make this bigger. And then you would go to Desktop. And then you would find wherever and whatever you saved it as. For us teachers, we saved it as MLA heading. Then you would have to hit Open. If it is still open on your computer, and again, I think this happened 1st or 2nd week, you would have to close it first, but then it would attach, and then you would just hit Submit down here. Other than that, just a little bit of a new twist because you have to go into Blackboard, but you guys should be all right.